Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagini Vyomavat Vyaptate Haya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Nityam Shuddham Nirabhasam Nirakaram Niranjanam Nityabodham Chidanandam Gurum Brahma Namamyam. So, we shall see. Knowledge is power. What does knowledge do? In the Shastra, you will find beautiful statements, especially Acharya Shankara's commentary says, knowledge does only one thing, ajnana nivritti matram karoti. It only sets aside, it only removes, it only negates ignorance. Let's say removes for time being. Knowledge only removes ignorance. It's got the power to remove. Knowledge has got the power to remove. Remove what? Ignorance. What's so great about it? Ignorance binds the individual. Again, we are not going anywhere spiritual, just very casually talking about. Ignorance binds an individual. When I don't know, I feel handicapped. So at the outset, one might say, ignorance is bliss. When I don't know, I am happy. But that sort of ignorance, very rarely is there. We are caught up in another form of ignorance. There's nothing like another form of ignorance. Ignorance at another level. And that level is called delusion, confusion. Confusion binds us, delusion binds us. Only difference may be the delusion makes me go in one direction and the confusion seems to choke all possible avenues. I don't know which way to go because I'm confused. I can sit down. But if there is a delusion, maybe I can go in a direction. Whether the direction is the right direction, don't bother about asking me what is right and what is wrong. Does it take me to my destination or not? That's a different issue. But it takes me. I don't feel suffocated. I don't feel choked. There is some light through. And then there's a way there. But if it's a wrong way, it's a problem. Generally, people say, something is better than nothing. But then the other side of the story is, nothing is better than nonsense. And here we can say what nonsense. Nonsense is nonsense. So whether it is confusion or delusion, one finds oneself caught up, whether immediately or immediately. When there is delusion, it looks as though everything is very clear. You move. And then move that far to see that you are caught up. You have met the dead end. You have to retrace your steps. so many times in our life, a dead end is not in the sense that you can go there and come back. You reach an end from where there's no return also. Almost finished. At least your time is lost. The resources are lost. Certain resources are lost. Your intellectual resources are lost. And then you feel lost. So therefore, ignorance has got a knack of binding an individual. Through its delusion, through its confusion. More often than not in this world, things bind us, or we manage to get bound by things because of delusion. Again, we are not going into the spiritual part of it. My own conclusions about a thing suck me towards a thing, or my own conclusions about a thing drive me away from that thing. One sort of movement is called pravritti, and another sort of movement or movement in another direction, another kind of movement is called nivritti. Mostly all my pravritti and nivritti, all the pursuit towards the thing, all the withdrawal from the thing, invariably is governed by my own delusion about the thing. Not that all the time it happens, but mostly it happens. And when it happens, then one is bound. When delusion triggers a pravritti or a nivritti, a movement towards a thing or a movement away from the thing, if delusion triggers it, be rest assured that I am trapped. Either delusion can trigger a pravritti and nivritti, or knowledge can trigger pravritti and nivritti. If that pravritti, that movement towards a thing, is triggered by understanding, in time I am going to get the end, the logical end, which is included or which is within the format of action, within that frame of action. But if it's delusion, then I'm hoping against hope that I'll get it. Inwardly, I am prepared for getting that end. Finally, when I travel that far and then discover that end is not there, all that I get is regrets and guilt. Therefore, I am caught up, bound by regrets and guilt. You might say, that is only chicken-hearted people who get caught up in regrets and guilt. You should be strong enough. If you are strong, you don't get caught up in regrets and guilt. Very good, nice. But unfortunately, that so-called strength makes me insensitive. Strength is never an insensitivity. Strength never is a product of insensitivity, or strength never begets insensitivity. But the so-called strength which you are talking about, you should be strong. Don't bother about all this. Bulldoze your way through. That makes me insensitive. Alright, let me be insensitive. What does it matter? An insensitive mind misses quite a lot of things. Just as an insensitive camera, or we used to have the cameras which had that film in that. that insensitive film, or even here also, you have those SD cards. They have platinum, they have extreme, ultra, and then they have ultra plus, etc., etc. Depending upon the card, the sensitivity of the card, so is the image going to be. So is the picture going to be. Similarly, here too, the insensitivity in the thinking faculty brings about a picture, all right. The picture is going to be not an exact replica of whatever is there. I might miss the whole thing or miss quite a lot of the details. Ultimately, I miss. One thing would be there, boredom, frustration, dejection will always be there. So, an insensitive mind is definitely going to be caught up in boredom, etc., etc. Frustration, dejection. A bored mind becomes bored. A bored mind discovers boredom. Whether I do not know whether I am right in saying discovers boredom, better word would be invents boredom. A bored mind invents boredom. Sometimes boring can be a blessing. I don't know whether they still do that. Olden days, at least now I am qualified to speak of olden days. Olden days they used to call engine boring, reboring. I don't know whether they are doing it now also. Anyhow, that reboring or boring is going to be a blessing. After a certain 1,000 kilometers or 10,000 kilometers or whatever it is, the engine has to be rebored. In India, they used to do it at that time. And then once they do it, then for some time you'll have to go slow, all right, and then very careful. And afterwards, then you can again go for another few thousand kilometers, few thousands of kilometers. There the boring is a blessing. But then this boring mind creates only boredom around. Why is it the mind is seeing the boredom? Where is the boredom? Invariably, somewhere you should see the same thing. Repeatedly seeing the same thing can turn out to be a monotony, can turn out to be a boredom. Unfortunately, nothing is the same. Everything is changing. And everything is changing so fast. Despite things changing so fast, things not being the same, still if you manage to see the same, that clearly shows what? That problem that is there is within the mind. It holds back lots of things and misses seeing whatever is there. It's not that sensitive to grasp, to capture whatever is there right in front. Well, the question is not very much about has it lost its power or has it forced itself into a situation where that power does not come into operation. So today, because of maybe a lifestyle, I have made the mind, the individual has made the mind become insensitive, and thereby what happens? It loses that capacity to capture whatever comes. There's a beautiful child, small child playing. There's a nice rose flower, fully blossomed rose flower, red rose flower in the plant. The leaves are all green. nice green plant with red rose flowers. On the rose flower petals, few dewdrops are there. And on the leaves also, few dewdrops are there. Or when you go out for walking here, on that lawn, you find dewdrops. So just like that, like diamonds sitting there shining. And when the sunlight falls on that, early morning sunlight, when it falls on that, it looks as though each leaf has got a diamond on top of. How many of us ever watched that? The mind is insensitive, has been rendered insensitive. This is gone. You're not seeing the different things that are there on the lawn. It's not something that is new, that is fresh, that is something special now. Then what are you seeing? Same old lawn. The lawn of yesterday, the lawn of day before yesterday, lawn that you knew in the record banks, whatever is there, that we bring in here. And then miss the beauty. So I miss the beauty in the lawn. I miss the beauty of the rising sun. I miss the beauty of the setting sun. I miss the beauty of the child. It wants to tell something. It wants to communicate something. I miss what all my spouse wants to communicate. She or he doesn't communicate with the words through an action. The person wants to communicate something. But my mind is so busy, has become so insensitive, doesn't see this. And then, till the other has to tell it out, speak it out. So therefore, that insensitivity, and in case, even then if I am not sensitive, then we have problems. 911 comes in. And then outsiders want to straighten us. The law wants to straighten us. Well, if not the law, tomorrow or day after, the person gets caught up in regrets and guilt. So right now, I miss all the beauty. There is nothing charming, there is nothing attractive, there is nothing inspiring in life. Same old things. It's only the mind is replaying, something like your cassette. At that time, you had cassettes, and then replay it or rewind it. Fast forward. Same thing will be going on. Rewind and fast forward, rewind, fast rewind, slow rewind, fast forward, slow re-forward. Then how are you going to see? How am I going to see whatever is there? So, something is presented all the time. Something or the other is presented all the time. In fact, the present presents something. And whatever is presented becomes absent because the mind is insensitive. Then what does the mind bring out? Whatever was present, it brings out. The same old problems, the same old worries, the same old excitements, the same old joys. After some time, the same old joys are no more joyful. Because every time I repeat it, I tell you, it's a law of diminishing return works. Whatever kick I was getting out of it, some time ago, I don't get the same kick out of it. As we had seen one of those in one of the lectures. You want to better it. I remember a person I met long ago in Rishikesh. I was just sitting on the banks of Ganges. And then this person came there with my bright yellow clothes. I was sitting there. So naturally he was drawn. Then he happened to speak in English, and then he came to know that I also speak English. Well, my English at that time was much better than the English that is there now. Anyhow, then he asked me, how can you be so happy, cheerful? I said, what's that? There's nothing to worry, there's no worry there, and that's why I'm cheerful, happy. For me to be like this, I tell you it. I said, why? And he told me, for him to be really peaceful at home, he requires 1,000 things, and not 1,000 things, lots of things. LSD must be there under the tongue. Something must be there in the nose. And then he requires that ganja, some sort of a, I think it's in marijuana or something like that. Okay, that he requires. And in between, sip something. All this permutation, combination of all this puts him in that state. And it's nice but sad also. That this person is happy is nice. At least then he is happy. But then when I look at his body, lots of things are oozing out. All the pus and other things are oozing. So at that time he said, how I wish I were like you. So I just told him, I'm just an ordinary person like you. The mind has become so insensitive. It misses the beauty that is there now. He could have also sat with me and watched the Ganges flow. Every time the water strikes against the rock, how bubbles are formed. Then it's there, born, now born, now born, now born, now gone. Even as it is born, it's gone. Just keep on watching different things. Time just flies. The mind is insensitive, and thereby what happens? Does not seek, does not cognize whatever is there. And a mind that is not there to grasp whatever is there, then it's going to be grasped by whatever was there. Its own memories, its own fears, its own problem. So therefore, today I am trapped, today I am bound. Ultimately, only because of ignorance. In the form of maybe delusion, maybe in the form of confusion. Though the seed for all this confusion, the seed for all this delusion is somewhere else. But at least at the manifestation level, I can still control. If I know that missing things when they are there is a cause for a problem, or you can also say this is the cause for most of our problems, though somewhere down the road we'll have to nail this down. What is that? I don't know myself. That will have to come, we'll talk about it much later. And because I don't know myself, errors regarding me are going to be there. Similarly, let's not bother about that. Similarly, errors regarding all those things are there because the mind is caught up. And then, how is it caught up? By its own delusions, by its own confusion that is there. So if I know what the thing is, what actually I get from the thing, irrespective of who the individual is, the transactional being, what he gets, if only he has the knowledge of that, then he is not going to be caught up in delusion. Knowledge and delusion do not go hand in hand. Erroneous knowledge is called delusion. Thinking about a thing exact opposite of what it is called delusion. In Sanskrit, you call that Bhrantihi Brahma. And the confusion is, maybe you can say it's also delusion, or the confusion is you are tied down, you are shackled. though technically I don't know how far I am right in just in making the statement confusion and delusion, because sometimes the confusion itself, the delusion is a product of confusion. Sometimes you will find that confusion brings in delusion, etc., etc. But still, these two things bind. So, if I know things are things, they don't give me anything. I can derive something out of that. Don't bother about who the I is and all. I can derive something out of that. If I know that much, then I go to the particular thing for a transaction. It's cold, you go in for a jacket. You go in for a jersey, jacket, a coat. And it's not cold, it's hot. You just remove it. But today, I don't put on the jacket because there's a need for the jacket. Then what? I feel, somebody get this feeling, I feel with the jacket, I'll be respectable. I'll be one who is respected. I'll be a respectable person. I hold on. That's my delusion. When I was a small child, not a very small child, okay, I was a child. At that time, I wanted to be a very great intellectual. I wanted to present myself as an intellectual. Then I somehow felt, if you have the specs on, then, oh, you'll be considered to be an intellectual. Somewhere I might have seen some people, some of the scientists having the specs. I also know in South, they used to call them soda bottle. The thick specs, they call them soda bottle. That also is there. So I planned my way and then found out a specs which is not that thick. And then afterwards it is also nice. So I put on the specs. So every day when we are going to the bus, run, catch the bus. At that time we were children. So run and catch the bus when it's moving. That gives a kick. When the bus stops and then you get inside, there's no maja in that. There's no kick in that. There's no joy in that. There's no inspiration there. So one such day when I was going, somebody also was coming and then the specs fell down. Then the people in the house said, hey, why not we go for specs? I said, no, not necessary, don't bother. Hey, your eyes will go. They said, no problem, because I knew what I had done. There's no need for a specs. I thought I'll become big intellectual. Nobody bothered even to look at me. Then I said, this is useless anyhow. Having put it on, all right, he continued for some time. And then when it broke, good riddance of bad rubbish. The delusion that I'm going to be like this, or having a goatee, or having a particular hairstyle, I'm going to be looked up to, I'm going to be a model, etc., etc., etc. This conclusion, this delusion, that I am going to be better off with this, with this, with this. I am going to be looked down upon without this, without this, without this. This delusion makes me go that extra mile and burn myself out. The confusion also burns me down. I am burnt out by my delusions and confusion. My inner batteries become decharged with all my delusions and confusion. And the delusion and confusion is simply because I am not aware of the truth of the thing. I don't have that knowledge of the thing. I don't have the knowledge of myself, a person who is going towards the thing. And I'm not also aware of, I don't have the knowledge of the very act that connects the subject with the object. Ignorance regarding the act, ignorance regarding the end, And ignorance regarding the subject, we're not talking about subject from any deeper level at all, just the transactional fellow that is there, the transactional being that is there, Mr. So-and-so. This person, ignorance about him, ignorance about the object, and the ignorance about the transaction that's taking place, the connection between the subject and the object. This ignorance binds. How do you say that? When that ignorance is not there, bondage is not there. How do you say that? In sleep we are not bound. Neither is there an erroneous evaluation about the object. Delusion is not there regarding the object. Nor is there an erroneous evaluation about the subject, about oneself. Nor is there an erroneous evaluation about the very action that connects the subject with the object. The very action or very medium through which the subject is connected with the object. Well, the unfortunate thing is, or the fortunate thing is, the mind is not available in sleep. Because the mind is not available in sleep, therefore this delusion is not there. But whenever the mind is available, then delusion will always be there. So how can I be free from all this delusion? How can I be free from the confusion? I can never be free from delusion and confusion. And therefore, a person might think, sleep I can't have all the time. I can't sleep all the time. Even if I can sleep all the time, it's not really going to be a good thing for me. As it is, there are weight problems, obesity, etc., etc. Other problems are there. And then, now nothing else would be there. Supposing I take sleeping tablets. Sleep is not the solution. Waking moments, all the time this problem is there. No. There are any number of waking moments, or there are any number of moments in your waking state. There are any number of waking moments when you are awake, where delusion is not there, confusion is not there. You happen to go to Banff. You happen to go to Lake Louise. There you are just watching it, let's say it is spring. You are watching. Or you go to Emerald Lake. Or you're going to the place called Mount Edith Keval. Nice, bright day, clear day. You can just have a nice view about the whole thing. Or that Lake Louise, that Emerald Lake, you just see so beautiful, everything is so nice. What happened today? Everything is so nice. No, something is there in the day. No, today is a nice day for me. There's nothing nice about it. The mind was not caught up. The mind was not caught up in delusion or confusion. And therefore, when in that moments when mind is not caught up in delusion and confusion, everything is beautiful. And when the mind is caught up in this delusion and confusion, it becomes pitiful. A pitiful mind, a beautiful mind, little bit of difference. How can I prevent the mind from getting caught up in delusion and confusion? Knowledge of the thing, knowledge of the very subject, knowledge of the very object, knowledge of the very transaction will help me free the mind from this delusion and confusion. And therefore, knowledge has got that power, knowledge has within it that power of dispelling delusion and confusion. What is knowledge? Knowledge is cognition of the truth of the thing is called knowledge. It is not just a firm thought that is knowledge. Though generally we tend to think that that firm, unchanging thought is knowledge. But then, that the world is going to give me happiness. This object is giving me happiness. That object is going to give me happiness. All the time we have this. But still, that's not knowledge. My life tells me, earlier I was holding on to something else as something that gives me happiness. And now I dislike that thing. I can't stand the sight of the thing. And earlier, whatever I never liked, now I am craving for it. What I disliked, what was very repulsive, revulsive, is now become an object of attraction. And what was attractive becomes an object of repulsion. So it happened. As a small child, I never liked, I don't know whether you all know this, idli.
Yeah.
I never liked that idli, isn't it? Who eats idlis? Because as a small child, all the time I was only getting masala dosa. Nice crispy stuff. So that was every week. For all the mistakes I used to do and for all the bangings I used to get. Sundays were the day when they used to feel bad and then, all right, treat this boy. So, masala dosas. Never was I ever given this idli in the restaurants. So I thought idli is for the poor fellow. And I've seen people selling idlis at that time. Selling idlis and then buying idlis and eating idlis. So I thought idlis are only for poor fellows. Not for the class people. For the class people it's all masala dosa. It had gone so much inside until at last my students, they used to bring the batter and then for me they'll make dosa and the same batter they'll make idlis for the remaining people. It was nice going on for a length of time. I thought everything was going on. Suddenly, one day, the report said that my cholesterol was high. So I asked the student what to do. This cholesterol is high, seems what should be done. Oh, Swamiji, it's very difficult to control the cholesterol. Only thing is you have to cut down all this oil stuff. And then after some, you have to take some medication and so on. Well, the medication part, somehow I skipped it. Anyhow. Then I asked what should be done? No oil should go inside. Only thing that can go inside, definitely dosas cannot go inside. Definitely puris cannot go inside. All those, vadas and all cannot go inside. The only thing that can go inside is idli. I tell you, idli was there in the plate. How to eat it? So much of conclusion that idli is for the poor fellow. So I had to tell myself very clearly, it's only the same batter in a different form. Well, that sighed twice, this never sighed. Do sai, do bar sai. Twice it sighed. One when you poured it. And then the next time again you turn it the other side. Again it sighs. Swing. This one never sighed. S-I-G-H. This is called idli. And believe it or not, I started eating idlis. First day, of course, I ate only 2 or 3 idlis. Then afterwards, I tell you, the mind started liking idli. This is the problem of likes and dislikes. So therefore, one gets caught up by things. Why? Because of the homework we are doing, so-called homework that you are doing, of projecting, imagining, dreaming, etc. That delusion that idli was only for poor fellows was bringing in a sense of repulsion. the sense that dosa is meant for class fellows was bringing in attraction. So all my attraction towards an object, all the repulsion from the object or through the object is all because of the ignorance that is there. And once I know any edible stuff is only an edible stuff, if it is needed, I take it. Knowledge removes quite a lot of these things. And therefore, knowledge has the power to remove, set aside, free the person from delusion and confusion. Somewhere down the road, supposing we see this, knowledge of myself, we shall see much later. I am full and complete. Eh? Yes, I is full and complete. Is it you want me to speculate, imagine, dream? No, that's the truth. You are full and complete. If this knowledge the individual has about himself as full and complete, then where is there going to be any problem? Where is the worry? Where is the fear? Where is that insecurity? So therefore, knowledge liberates the person from ignorance. Ignorance in the form of delusion, confusion regarding the objects and regarding the transactional entity also. And if you go to the fundamental stuff, ignorance regarding oneself, that binds. We shall see sometime much later. But most probably in the next issue, we can look into this. I am there in the world and I always feel the world binds me. The world binds me. And therefore what? I got lots of complaints regarding the world. And there are a lot of justifications also. I have to live this way. Why? Because this is going to be there in the world. Otherwise, I'm going to be a square plug in a round hole. And therefore, what? The excuse for me living my lifestyle, living my life this way is justified with by the conclusion, I feel, conclusion that the world is like that. And therefore, I act this way because the world is that way. The world is not different from you. You are the world. This, if we can look into, then remaining in the world, I can be at home with myself. This we shall see in the next issue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shantashantashanti Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.